post-lunch slot. Why do I get the post-lunch slot? Because I'm supposed to be trying to wake you up, all right? So all I want you guys to do today is come at me from the position that absolutely everything I tell you is completely wrong. And I want you to try and prove me wrong with appropriate evidence. This will do two things. Firstly, we can all always be better, and we only know what we know when we know it. Yeah? So therefore, if I made a boo-boo, and we've got a top neurologist sitting in the audience who goes, oh, you got this bit wrong for this reason. Oh, thanks. I can get it right in the future. Because I hold being right far higher than holding on to long-held beliefs. And it's these long-held beliefs that I want you to let go of today and learn what is currently known about brain damage and what we're actually doing to each other and what we should be doing about it. Give you a background. Why should you pay attention to me? Dev Barrett once said to me, step through right, boom, and I picked up a European title. Thanks, Dev. Okay, I'm a former professional fighter. I picked up 13 world titles across kickboxing, Thai boxing, sports, jiu-jitsu. I've been elite level at another 5 combat sports. I was one of the official K1 fighters. I was Britain's 3rd, argumentatively 2nd, world full contact champion for WACO. After, of course, Dev Barrett, and then Chris McNeish, and then me, and now apparently we've got 2 more. Well done. There's now 5 of us. 5 of us since when was WACO started? 81 was it or something? Yeah? There's very few of us, so well done. So that's my heritage. I was judo from 76 through to 91. I was doing Lao Gar Kung Fu from 89. I'm the basically second generation, I term second generation points like continuous fighters. The original guys include members of your board, such as a certain, what's his name, Neville, we all know Neville, okay, and Peter Edwards. Pete was a baby in a bunch of the first generation, and now he's your like commanding officer. How cool is that? So they're the first generation, actually invented the sport that we all love today. I was second gen. I was basically fighting points from sort of 1990 onwards. But I've got to be honest, points fighting has got a serious problem. It's really technical, and I'm not. So I quickly switched to light continuous, and then I switched to full contact because you can get away with being even less technical. And I built a career on taking 5 hits to give 6, and I'm a genetic freak. I'm a genetic freak because I've probably had over 1,000 competitive bouts. I won vast proportion of them, and I definitely lost some. Definitely. So I've also just completed a PhD, and I should be sort of not functioning at all because of the brain damage that I've incurred over the years. I've probably had more hits than just about anyone in combat sports, but I'm still standing. Sport rewards genetic freaks. So don't take someone like me as an example of what everyone else is going to be like, because I am a freak. Okay, apologies for that, as you'll find out by my bad jokes. My PhD, I defend it, I've written a thesis, I've spent the last 5.5 years, and probably, comparatively, with loss of earnings and the rest of it, about 50k of my own money, studying a self-funded PhD in a policy analysis of traumatic brain damage in combat sport athletes. So what you've got here is a bully's worst nightmare. I'm a geek. I was actually considering putting my glasses on rather than my contact lenses, and yes, look, I'm a geek up here. But no, you get Gary the Fighter today as well. So I'm bully's worst nightmare because I'm a geek who can fight. So what I've done for the last 5.5 years is basically looked at a problem within sport, and in particular a problem within combat sport, which is traumatic brain damage. I've then worked out exactly how many of us are affected by it and to what extent, and the whole secale of behaviours that result from us hitting each other in the head. I've also worked out who needs to do something about it, the stakeholders like WACO, and also what we actually need to do by way of policy to actually prevent brain damage, mitigate it, and manage it when it takes place. Firstly, I've got to say a huge thanks to the team at Wacko for not just having me, but having Gordon on as well, who nailed it. Let me just say that my policy absolutely, completely and utterly slates over 99% of combat sports organisations in the UK for not even having policy, let alone having policy. And yet here you are at the National Training, GB, UK, I can't just say national because that would just be England or Scotland, wouldn't it? But the whole GB training weekend, 3 talks on what we should be doing about concussion in accordance with the UK government guidance, which Gordon nailed, so please pay attention to that. He also laid it clear who should be doing certain things and when. Pay attention to it, it's highly important. Wacko have then called me in to give you some bare bones information, to let you understand the information as to traumatic brain damage. So let's get started. Let's have a bit of audience participation. What I'm going to do is pick you if I can, and I'm just going to kick you really hard in the head and create some brain damage, right? Or, no, I'm not going to do that. Different kind of audience participation. What I want you to do is, please do this, because this is indicative. If you've had traumatic brain damage, please put your hand up. Okay, so we've got a couple who've had, we've got a handful who've had, less than a handful who've had, okay. Who's had traumatic brain injury before? Okay, cool. How many of you had a concussion before? Right, let's see how that changes as this talk goes on. And we may find just a few more hands starting to come up. Okay. Traumatic brain damage is not the same thing as traumatic brain injury, which is not the same thing as concussion. However, they are all related. If I come up and, my little replacement hit, boom, switch kick, nice strike. It'd be a rarity if I catch him with one, put it that way. Yeah, especially if we're doing points. What's his hands down? I'm Kevin Bruton Day, man. I'm not even that, I'm like, what am I supposed to be doing, man? Yeah, that's why I switched to light continuous and full contact. Impacts you in the head, okay? So, damage, brain damage. Brain damage is when there's structural damage that's taken place in the brain. It can be incredibly minor. Think about it. Think about having a car. Let's use an analogy. Let's use a car. You've got a car, right? And a stone comes up and goes dink, and puts a little chip in the paintwork. Okay, sure. It might not look that nice anymore. It's got that little dink in it. Okay, but doesn't affect performance, does it? That's a little bit of brain damage. What you could also have is a big rock come out and put a dent in it. Now it's starting to cause dysfunction. There's less airflow going around. There's a little knocking where it's banging on the tyre. Yeah? So when there's dysfunction, that damage becomes injury. So brain damage is taking place, which is structural, breaking connections, perforating bits, stretching, tearing, shearing. There's these little things called neurotransmitters that carry messages across between connections in the brain. They might get knocked out of position. All of that is brain damage. Where it causes dysfunction to behaviour, that's brain injury. Now, we can test for brain injury. There's various things that we can do. We can test for dysfunction. Well, I'm about 2 metres away. I've got a football, standard FA football, size 5, whatever they are. Lob it over, heads it back. If he heads it back 5 times, that's more than enough for me to test him with various testing protocols and discover a lowering of cognitive ability, the ability to think, an impairment of memory. What's the last one? Oh yeah, impairment of memory. So a lowering of cognitive ability, impairment of memory, and a reduction in cortico control. A lack of control, a reduced control of the body. Okay? So it can be really, really small. So you might need to actually test for injury. So we've got brain damage. There's actually something structurally or operationally that's been broken, damaged. Okay? When that results in dysfunction, that's what we call injury. Now sometimes we get injuries such as being sparked. Or, oh, his legs have gone. His bell's been wrong, he's got a wobble. And you get hit, boom, and you get the tonic posturing. Okay? You get automatic head shake, bang. Oh, shaking it off afterwards, okay? Imbalance and such like. They're signs, they're things that we can see. The observable signs of traumatic brain injury. That's what all referees and coaches should be trained in spotting. Because by the time that a fighter has signs, visible signs, observable signs of brain injury, we've got a serious brain damaging incident taking place. What you can also have is symptoms. Symptoms will be things that you can personally experience. I've got persistent post-concussion syndrome. Not from fighting, I got assaulted in a pub. Yeah, 13 times world champion, elite level at another 5. Some guy twats me in a pub. Twat, by the way, is a northern term, means to hit. I twat, you twat, we twat, they twat on. You twat too, yeah? Twat and one gas, okay, coach. So it's a Yorkshire term. I'm not from Yorkshire, so I don't know why I use it. I'm trying to be a bit controversial and swear without swearing. No. Sorry. Terrible. So, where was I going with that?
So one time in the pub.
I got tired in the pub, that's right, yeah. Yeah, dysfunction. So, yeah, please, sir, step away from that lady. Basically, he's saying, I'm going to effing kill you to a female member of staff who I actually knew, and she's a manageress. Sorry, I'm right there, not on my watch. So really passively, hand in the pocket. Please, sir, step back for the lady. I got sucker punched like an idiot. Yeah, bam. You got 1/100th of a second to react to that punch once it started. If you haven't reacted within 1/100th of a second, you're getting hit. Well, guess what? I didn't know it was coming. I got hit. Bam, hit me. Took a few steps back, instantly like Terminator, targets, shots, I got it all going. He saw me suddenly go, take a step forward. Remember Terminator 2? They'll walk, so then I walk towards him. Oh, he ran for it. Don't worry, we got him. It was a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu club's night out. Little Roby shot out, blocked his way, black belt Gareth, hips rose, down he went like that. 3 black belts on him. 45 minutes later, the police arrest him, and he got a 3rd leniency for pleading guilty, a 3rd leniency for not having any previous, and still had a 2-year suspended sentence, 1 year worth of weekly probation, and 300 hours of unpaid work. Excuse me for doing this, but he deserves it. Because I ended up hospitalised. I had a real bad brain injury. I then red flagged 4 days later and was conveyed to hospital. Beep, yeah, as it was going in my head. Because it unfolds, brain injuries, I'll explain, unfold over time. I've got a constant headache at the moment. I've got impulsivity issues. I am actually autistic and ADHD, and that's why I am constantly on the caffeine when I'm presenting, because it actually does keep me on task, because I get diverted off everywhere. So, back onto brain damage. So I've got brain damage and brain injury at the moment that I'm actually working with. I'm defending my Viva on Monday, and my impulse control is off. So if a thought goes in my head, I'm off down that road. I've got 3 hours of being quizzed on my PhD thesis on Monday. Well, I've got to know 85,000 words like that. Oh dear, it's going to be fun. So, brain damage, boom. Structural damage, integrity damage. Okay, when it results in dysfunction, wobbly leg, head shake, yeah, headaches, yeah. Do you scratch your nose? Sorry, mood lability, you know, irregular moods and such like, impulse control, lack of concentration, memory impairment, such like, things like that, they're symptoms, okay? That's an injury. So when you have dysfunction, that's the injury. Damage, dysfunction is injury. So what the heck's a concussion? A concussion is an arbitrary term given to a certain selection of signs and symptoms of traumatic brain damage. Hands up, everyone who had concussion. Keep your hands up if you didn't raise your hands when I said, have you got traumatic brain injury? And some of the hands will go down. Lower your hands if you didn't have your hands raised when I said, did you have traumatic brain damage? If you've got concussion, you have a traumatic brain injury resulting from traumatic brain damage. Does that make it a little bit more clear? Damage, problems with integrity, Dysfunction, that's injury. Concussion, yes, he's got 2 out of 3 of this tick list. We'll call that a concussion. Okay? But it doesn't take it away from traumatic brain injury. It doesn't take it away from the fact that that injury has resulted from traumatic brain damage. So I talk about traumatic brain damage rather than concussion. Okay? Concussion doesn't cover subdural hematomas, a traumatic brain bleed that tends to be catastrophic and people die. It's the biggest cause of death in boxing, for example. That's not concussion, but that is a brain injury resulting from a brain damage. Okay? So, what actually happens when you get hit? So, whoosh, I like doing that. Like a little points fighter. Really. Oh, that's the best chamber fire that I could ever do. I've built my career on making things work that shouldn't, right? If you looked at me on the back, you go, he's a fighter, but I did okay because of it, because they're trying to work out, what the heck's he doing? And I listen to coaches. It's amazing what happens when you listen to coaches. Yeah, walk through right, thanks, you're being told. Good man, Dev. Okay, so when you get hit, certain things happen. You might have immediate connection breaks, snap. Suddenly, bits of your brain aren't working the way that they were before. You might have communication issues where these little neurotransmitters that float around between connections are disrupted and are out of place. Now you may spontaneously recover from those. Oh, his legs are gone, his legs are gone. No, he's looking good, he's back in the game, he's back in the game. That doesn't mean to say that the traumatic brain damage is recovered. It just means that your brain is rerouted around it. Imagine there's a river, okay, and there's a few bridges over the river, and there's an earthquake, and you need to go from A to B across that first bridge. But the earthquake breaks that first bridge. It's okay, go to the next one, go along and go up. You can recover that function. It just takes that little bit longer. Another earthquake, next bridge goes. It's okay, we can still go down the third bridge now, go across and come up, we're okay. Just takes longer still. Fourth one, same thing. Last bridge, suddenly you've lost that function to get across the river. That's the same as being hit repetitively. Okay? The brain damage adds up. So, you get the impact. The damage takes place. You might have an injury that results from it. That injury might spontaneously recover, but that recovery is not recovery from the underlying damage. That continues to unfold. It's like the battle between the Jedi and the dark side going on. You've got repair, repair. You've got damage, damage taking place. Okay? As the brain desperately tries to recover function, repair, carry out housekeeping in the result of this unfolding action in the background. We're organisms. We go through this continued process of damage, repair, repeat, until we pop our clocks. It's an ever-losing battle. So we only repair so much of the damage. Going back to the car, I've kicked him. Got a point. First time ever. It's hypothetical because I never get him in real life. Yeah. I'll be like, why are they holding 3 points up for the head kick? Is it 3 points for a head kick? 2. Oh man! That's how much I know about points fighting. I never got head kicking points, so that's why I don't know it. So it might be absolutely fine. Yeah? Today, fine. Tomorrow, fine. Oh, no red flags appearing several days later. I'm fine. But then over time, that car, it's got the little dink in the paintwork in it. It slowly starts to rust. That rust starts to spread. We get a rust spot that starts to get deeper. Suddenly now we've got dysfunction and injury. So the brain damage that you're having now can aggregate to later life. Okay? All of this is a dose response. In other words, you get the greater effects, the more numbers of hits you get, the closer they are together, the frequency and the magnitude of those hits. Think of it like a power bar. We've all got our own versions of the power bar. As I said, I'm a genetic freak. I've only ever been knocked out once, and I still finished the fight. It was Kiev. It was the year that Barrington Patterson, the legend, fought Vitaly Klitschko in the final. And long story short, we'll fill you in, but he thought it was the day after. He had to nick my gum shield. How disgusting is that? and my trousers to go and fight Vitaly Klitschko at the World Championships in Kiev. Yeah. But yeah, so I got through the quarterfinals that year. I didn't win. And in the quarterfinals, I got hit by a southpaw straight left. Yeah. Bam! Got the points. Got the 8 count. Counted it. Carried on, but I lost because of the 8 count. Came out the ring, and it was Chris McNeish. She goes, "Gary, that's the first time I've ever seen you hit the canvas." I'm like, "Yeah, I didn't hit the canvas." "Yes, you did, Gary." "No, he hit me. It was a really good shot, I've got to be fair. You know, it really rung the bell. But yeah, I was just there taking the 8 count. "No, Gary, you hit the canvas." "No, I didn't." "Chris, stop winding me up." Yeah. Rewinds this video back in the day. Yeah. Oh my God, I face planted. I literally, bam, got hit, face planted, and then sprung back to my feet again. I was out cold on the way down. Hit the ground, woke me up. How's that? Just couldn't remember it. Quite worrying. So, going back a bit. Brain damage, brain injury, concussion, arbitrary number of signs and symptoms. Every part of this is important. Brain damage will add up over time. That injury will continue to unfold over time. Gordon absolutely nailed the UK concussion guidance today. There's also a Scottish version, which is very slightly different. And if you follow a Scottish version, you still can't be criticised because, again, it's pretty much on point. In fact, New South Wales, Francis Wacko on Facebook contacts me just to say that it's now mandated, it's now legal for everyone in combat sports, coaches, referees, etc., in combat sports in New South Wales, in Australia, have to attend a combat sport specific concussion course. It's coming. So Gordon absolutely nailed the concussion guidance. So hang on guys, I'm a fighter. Back in the day when I was a young lad, back in the day, right, I fought Matt Skelton, first K1 UK. I was only 8.5 kilos, he was 118. I threw everything I had at him. One of the magazines wrote up about it, and they said, Turner threw everything he had against Skelton, including some amazing head kicks. Unfortunately, he had all the effect of a fly hitting a truck windscreen. I got mashed, man. I got mashed. It's one of those times when I fractured my orbital, so I blew my nose. My eye sockets went and blew up with the air. Yeah. I had a real bad TBI, traumatic brain injury. The headache was banging. I was slurring my words a little bit embarrassing in front of the father-in-law. But I was a mess, right? So what did I do the next day? I sparred. What an idiot, knowing what I know now. Once you've got an injury, once you've got that damage, and this is unfolding, you have increased vulnerability for increasing that brain injury, and it can be quite catastrophic. I'll come back to that, okay? Within about 30 days, you've got about a 30-day recovery period from that, where you increase vulnerability to increased effects of further hits, which may even kill you through something called second impact syndrome. The slogan, if in doubt, sift them out. That's from Ben Robinson, rugby player, 15 years old, had on the rugby pitch, concussed. Oh, no, he's okay, go back to play. Another head hit. He got about an hour. Air ambulance came in half an hour. He died, unfortunately, on the way to hospital. And the Ben Robinson campaign, if in doubt, sit them out, has obviously taken hold. And it's a real wise move, okay? Pay attention to brain injury. It counts, it matters. So, this injury unfolds over time. It also aggregates on that dose response. We've got these power bars, okay? Power bars. You get a little hit, the power bar, like a computer game, it depletes a little bit. Another hit, depletes a little bit. Little bit. Over time, it depletes. And it only replenishes so far. If you get hit, say it only goes up 75% again. Yeah, from each hit. If you get a big hit of a high magnitude, boom, yeah, Hadouken. Once that power bar runs out, you're in trouble. You'll start getting the signs and symptoms, you'll start to experience the effects of brain damage. Not only that, in training, one thing that really I can't comprehend now, I know, because of doing the research for PhD, the more hits you get, the higher the magnitude of the hits, the lower your ability to withstand them, and the more likely you are to be knocked out. Fight camps. Yeah, we save our hard sparring for fight camps. Yeah, so you get high magnitude, high frequency right before you're about to try and fight. You're going into the bout in a pre-weakened state. How crazy is that? You shouldn't be doing hard sparring anyway, but if you're doing hard sparring, why do it in fight camp when it's going to be even more dangerous for you? Do it outside of fight camp. Back in our days, we didn't have fight camps anyway. Yeah. Gary, what are you doing Friday? Oh, hello. Oh, Scott Coker. He used to be UFC and various. Is he Glory now? Matchmaker? I don't know. He's matchmaker, international matchmaker. Yeah, what are we doing Friday? Don't know. Where am I going to be? Oh, Ohio, Columbus. Oh, what have I got? Oh, it's the Arnold Classic, Arnold Schwarzenegger show. Let's start with Friday night fights. We need you to fight the K1 USA champion, Carl Williams. Okay, where am I flying? That's what we used to do, yeah? So why have fight camps always been in shape? But these impacts harm you, they add up. There's something that we term proximity of risk. At what age or what duration of participation are we likely to experience the results of these old bad habits that we've been doing? And we know about this for over a century. For over a century we've had dementia pugilistica, punch-drunk syndrome, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, modern term is CTE, and such like. We know that getting repetitively hit in the head in boxing with that magnitude and that frequency can have lifelong events. In football, you're looking at getting early onset dementia around your 60s, about 10 years lower than the national average. Rugby, at professional level, late 30s, early 40s. Speak to Steve Thompson and Alex Popham, for example. I do it regularly. I'm involved in the rugby litigation, and it's quite frustrating, especially Tomo. He can't even remember the World Cup he won. You know, he can't remember anything from it. If you read his book, yeah, get it on Audible. It's really cool because the whole chapter on the Rugby World Cup, it's all the England rugby players telling stories about Tomo. He can't remember them. I bet you someone's made them up. Yeah, I bet someone made one up for him and stuck it in there. He wouldn't know. So, in football, it's the 60s. In rugby, it's late 30s, early 40s. So, what is it in combat sport? In combat sports, let's take boxing because we've got more number of data on that. In boxing, at professional level, you're looking at 8 years of participation before you start to notice the effects of the repetitive head impacts. 8 years. Yeah? With that, that's noticing it. Other people might have noticed it, even though you haven't. You will still be able to be tested and see the cognitive decline and the rest of it. So this is what we know as a problem. Okay? And I've come at you with a load of doom and gloom. But you're starting to understand it a little bit more. And therefore we can start to do something about it. Now, the biomechanics of traumatic brain damage is actually highly complex. But to cut a long story short, the head doesn't even need to move for you to get brain damage. Heavyweight boxers are more likely than the lighter weights to be knocked out. They brace into the shot, the force goes through the brain and into the floor, but the brain still moves. It's okay, it's all right. I'm flexible. I know my jokes are bad. People walk out with bad jokes. So you get, where was I going? Yeah, so heavyweights, you're bracing shots into it. The head doesn't even need to move for you to get brain damage. So you've got, sorry, I've got to pick on someone for this. On the outside of your head, you've got hair, skin, scalp, so I should have picked you, Billy. He's bigger than me, man. You've got like a hair, skin, scalp, okay? Beneath the hair, skin, scalp, etc., you've got the skull. The skull's purpose is to not just like hold your head together, it's to protect the brain. At a point of a sharp impact, like having an axe, yeah, the skull will depress, the outer edges of that depression pop up, and you get the skull fracture around the outside of the impact. That's actually by design. It protects the brain. It dissipates force from reaching the brain. Inside the skull, actually, everyone put their hands together like that if you can, and just look at your hands. As you look at your hands, that's about the size of your brain. Those of you with small hands, yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's about the size of your hand, right? That's about the size of your brain inside your head, okay? Now, you've got the hair, skin, scalp, you've got the skull. Inside the skull, the brain does not move against the skull. On the inside of the skull is a series of tissues known as meninges. That makes one of my supervisors squirm, so I say meninges quite a lot. So that's moist. That annoys people for some reason as well. But meninges, he hates it. Now these are the soft tissues, and they're the ones that bleed, creating the subdural hematomas and such like, the connective tissues between. So the brain sits inside the meninges, inside the skull, inside the hair, skin, and scalp. The brain is tethered to the meninges. It's got little connections. It's got little vascular connections take place. There's a series of neuronal connections that are in there. And that kind of restrains the brain. But it's basically got the consistency of a very sloppy jelly. It is almost impossible to hold a brain in your hands. If you see someone holding a brain, it's been cured. It's like a little jellyfish through your hands. Okay, it's quite. I haven't done it, but I've seen a video of my supervisor over in Boston at a brain bank having a look at one of the brains. He's got in his hands like, don't drop it, because it slips through your fingers. It's literally like jelly. Okay, so on the inside, you get impact. It will move linearly, 1 to 5 millimeters, and it'll bounce. Doing. As it moves, it will stretch one side and compress the other side, and then as it bounces back, you get this coop contra coops, as it's called, on each side, stretching these tissues. Okay? It also rotates within those tethers as well, which is even more dangerous, and more force actually reaches those internal layers. In my PhD, I had a look at the literature and thought, what's the minimum movement of a brain, the minimum strain of brain that creates traumatic brain damage? It's incredibly small. For the geeks amongst you, it's about 3G. A linear movement and 200 rad-s squared of rotational movement. Incredibly small. Rugby won't pull you out for a head injury assessment on a mouth guard unless it's like 5,500 rotational, we're talking 200 for brain damage, and about 70G of linear, and we're talking about 3G. Okay, give you an idea, those headers, guess what that is? About 5G. A normal header, there you go, look at that, athleticism. Yeah? Those normal headers, okay, they're up to about 13, 18G. Okay? More than enough to create traumatic brain damage. A violent sneeze. That's enough to give you traumatic brain damage. As a result, every impact in combat sports, whether light, glancing, or with protection, creates traumatic brain damage. And it's a dose response. We want to limit the overall brain burden. Because most importantly, because we're fighters, it screws our performance up. The more hits we get, the less able we are to control our body. The less able we are to learn, and the less able we are to perform. Getting hit makes us worse. It's kind of like a bit of a surprise, really, isn't it? Yeah, oh, no surprise. You know, getting hit in the head hurts us. Yeah? So we need to limit it on what we do. Now, with that, just 2 warnings on it. One's a warning, and one's actually, this is how you knock someone out easier. The warning, if someone's head, bump, goes back and hits the canvas, or they have one heck of an impact to the front of the head, those 2 impacts are most likely to cause the traumatic, catastrophic brain bleeds that can result in all kinds of issues. So if fighters' heads hit the canvas, pay particular concern to that. And remember, you need to monitor over time. In the literature, the longest it's taken to kill someone, walk around, day 1 fine, day 2 fine, day 3 fine, day 4 fine, day 5 fine, day 6 flat, I'm dead. 6 days it can take. So you need to monitor over time. Now you might start wondering why, or you might start realising why, on the concussion guidance, there's this stand down period. Yeah? It's because we still need to be monitoring you and checking you for signs and symptoms. Okay? So, we've got the catastrophic brain bleeds taking place. Where was I on that? Red Bull. Red Bull for the answers. So, the first one is the concern. Watch out for the brain damage, okay, the brain bleeds from the front impacts and the rear impacts. However, if you want to knock someone out, the most effective way of knocking someone out is creating deep tissue strain in the brain, right in the middle. The easiest way of getting that is a rotational shot, a hook, a round kick. I can't do them. One of them spinny heel kick thingies. Yeah, I'll leave you points fights to that. Remember, I'm not technical enough. Okay, to the jaw from the side. They are most likely to create the greatest torsion in the head and the greatest rotational movement in the brain, creating more brain damage and therefore greater effects. So you want to spark someone, hit them on the jaw from the side. Yeah, angle shot. I'll have a bit of that, thank you very much. Also, that means pay attention to it in training and sparring. They're more likely to cause brain damage. If you're doing competition, coaches, referees, watch out for them. They're particularly damaging. If someone's had a hard shot to the side of the jaw, pay attention for any signs and symptoms that might pop up. Now, you might be thinking, hang on, this is all doom and gloom. What the heck do we do about it? Okay, what we do is we minimise it. Now, I say protect the kids, that's me personally, but we need to limit the head impacts we have. There is no mitigation for brain damage. Gloves, and larger gloves and head guards actually increase brain damage. Again, if you want to knock someone out, one second, if you want to knock someone out, you need greater contact time. That actually allows more force to actually reach the brain. If you don't have the head guards and you get hit, you're more likely to get cuts and bruises and such like. So head guards do have a place. But what you're doing is you're saving the face for the injury that you can't see. And a traumatic brain injury is the most complex disease in the most complex of organs in the human body. It always wonders me why, when this is known, they've removed head guards from boxing for men, for amateur boxing for men. So they removed it from amateur boxing for men, and interestingly, concussion rates, knockout rates went through the roof for 2 years and then plummeted as they learned to do a different sport. Guess what? They're moving their heads now. They're not being hit, okay? Interestingly, they still keep them for the feminines because they're preserving the feminine ideal. They don't want women walking around with beaten up faces. They get the same ranges as us guys, and it's increasing, and it's known, so why do amateur boxing do it? Here we go, as part of that, the gender disparity that's taking place where women are disadvantaged in sport. Okay, they shouldn't be, but they are, socio-cultural and economically. So, what do we do about this? We limit the impacts. Okay. Oh, sorry, what was your question? Sorry, pal.
How do the gloves make more damage?
They make more damage to the brain because there's a little bit more weight. Yeah. Okay, so forces mass times acceleration, and in the research, an analogy, footballs. People did say that Willie Stewart up in Scotland, you're Scottish, aren't you? You're, yeah, for that. Yeah, I'm doing well with you, I'm going to get killed out there. Yeah. So Willie Stewart up in Scotland, he's the neuroscientist who did the research into football, with the footballs, and people were saying that, oh yeah, the football players of old, they get the brain injuries because balls were heavier, they got waterlogged, but they also move slower as a result. The modern balls are lighter and they don't get the water on them, but they move quicker. Their head in impact and the result on the brain is exactly the same. Yeah? So when you've got a glove, it doesn't matter how big it is, what you're doing is at the point of impact, there's a slowing. Okay, here you go, this is hard surface. It's sharp, yeah? If I put soft surface between it, now it's soft. Yeah, there's a slowing down, a lengthening of contact time. That lengthening of contact time enables more force to actually reach the brain. A sharper impact will dissipate through the skull movement, okay, the soft tissue damage and such like. But when you actually have a longer time, it enables more force to actually transfer to the brain. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
The biomechanics are actually quite complex. I have to get my head around it. It's called compliance, the stiffness of the material. The softer the material, the lower the compliance, the more force gets transferred to the brain. Literally, there's no head guards that work, despite everyone putting out these, despite everyone putting out in rugby and such like these skull caps and the rest of it. All they're doing is protecting the soft tissue, hence why head guards and gloves have to have a pass. Why don't I want to go bare knuckle then? Well, then you're more likely to get these acute injuries that cause the brain bleeds. Yeah, there's no solution. It's just which nature of injury you're going to get next. Just don't be hit, yeah?
Is taking things like creatine helps?
No. No, excuse me. No. Right, I've got a long going row with the Institute of, the International Sports Nutrition, I don't know what it's, the ISSN, where there's no evidence that taking creatine is neuroprotective, nor does it help you recover from traumatic brain damage. The studies they quote are things like Sahelis et al., which they got 3 papers, and where they looked at 21 kids, severely brain traumatized kids. They're hospitalised, and they gave some creatine over the course of several months, and they gave some non-creatine over several months. And the people that took creatine reported less symptoms. What they don't tell you is that also in the studies, 2 people on the creatine arm died, and 1 person on non-creatine arm died. So they're saying, yeah, creatine improves some symptoms. Yeah, but if you're claiming that, then inversely, it also killed 2 of them. Yeah, it's a small pilot study, and it's severely hospitalised kids. And kids are also not the same as adults. Our brains are different. The kids' brains are still developing. There's various things happening, and creatine affects them slightly differently as well. But yeah, unfortunately, no. So to date, there is no neuroprotection from nutrition known. The emerging evidence are things like the omega-3 and omega-6 fats. They may be shown benefit, though they are shown benefit in studies, but there's a paucity, a very small lack of body of evidence for it. But for creatine, no, it's horrendous. Remember, question what I've said, look to prove me wrong. Yeah, Gary at garyturner.co.uk. Gary at garyturner.co.uk. That's my email. Anything you can find contrary to that, let me know. I'll enter into discussion. We only know what we know when we know it. There might be a late study out today proving me completely wrong. Yeah, cool. So there's no mitigation that can take place. All you're doing is just changing the nature of that injury. So what do we do about it? A friend of mine, Robbie Britton, elite ultramarathoner. I contacted him when I retired in 2009 from professional fighting. I did some silly ultramarathons for 10 years until I had my total hip replacement. And then now I've got Labradors rather than Huskies that I used to run with. Labradors don't run as far as Huskies. He came second, I think this is 2018 or 2019, World 24-hour ultramarathon competition, World Championships. He came second with 162 miles run in 24 hours. His fuel of choice, gummy bears. The most impressive thing, it's not the 162 miles, most of you go, someone can actually run that in 24 hours. It was round a running track. How boring is that, man? Yeah, the border would have got to be low. 162 miles in 24 hours. Elite ultramarathoner. He must put some miles in. I used to do 60, 80 miles a week in the winter, up to 120 miles a week in my training. Most he does in the week, about 40 miles. He doesn't put the miles in during the week. He saves the miles for the competition. So in training, that's when we do most of our sparring. That's where we get most of our impacts. Let's change the way that we do our sparring in the club. There's 2 things. 1, you can take the contact right the way down. Remember that dose response? One of the main things is magnitude. The bigger the hit, the more the damage. Yeah? Take it down from heavy to light, but that's still causing damage. Take it to touch maybe. Why don't you make it playful? Now, if you come at me, throwing punches and kicks, I'm going to be scared. A fear state is not conducive to learning. What traditional Thai boxers do in their sparring? They're playful. Hey, yeah, woohoo! You swept you. Come on, up you come. Hello, let's go again. It's very playful, okay? Play, enjoyment, that's conducive to learning. So if you take the fear away, straight away, and take it to enjoyable fun, yeah, some people enjoy the pain, I did, but if you take it to enjoyable fun, you're more likely to learn and embed the learning. They don't think about sparring anyway. What's it there for? Sparring is there to help you learn, under pressure, the correct response to stimuli. Can you jump up a second for us? Okay. When I learned this back in 2016, just to stand there. Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to throw a really big right leg. Right? I can't throw a right leg. No, I can! Just a leg kick. So when I learned this in 2016, I instantly stopped head contact for kids. About 3 months later, I stopped it for adults as well, including my professional fighters that I trained. Because I realised it's actually head contact in sparring is detrimental to performance. What's required is a correct response to stimuli. So do me a favour, at about 5% speed, throw a jab towards me. Here comes a jab. No. Oh my God, this is like lightning. Yeah, 5% speed, I've got to talk through it. Really slow, super slow, super slow. Slower, super slow, super slow. Now, what's happening is I can see every part of his movement taking place. Not only that, I can now go, actually connect with me. I can see every part of his movement taking place. It gives my brain a chance to select the right response and execute it. So you go normal speed, but don't throw everyone, and I'm going to go super slow. We started implementing sparring protocols like this.
Speed as in sparring
You're going
speed?
normal speed, I'm going super slow.
Okay.
Like this.
Okay.
You're normal speed.
Right.
You go normal speed. Yeah, man. Normal speed. Yeah. Fuck you, points fighter. Leg kick for points fighter. Yeah. But you can see I'm going really slow. It's giving him a chance to see what I'm doing. Yeah. So he's seeing the first stimuli. Now I know when someone's going to throw a punch or kick, 3 breaths before they throw it. Yeah. Gives me a chance to actually get moving ahead of the game. So for example, who throws a punch breathing in? Yeah, we'll breathe out as we exert ourselves. Try to do a push-up breathing in. It's quite funny, people collapse. Yeah. We breathe out. Interestingly, running tracks, why are they counterclockwise when everything else is clockwise? Because we breathe on our dominant leg. We run better counterclockwise. Yeah? Left-handed people will run better clockwise round. Yeah? So we breathe out as we exert ourselves. So if he breathes in, I'm now at risk because he might breathe out and hit me. Okay? But you need to, for exertion, you need to go sharp in, sharp out to get the timing right. So when he's going, breathe in, breathe in, breathe in. There's a little settle between the sharp intake, between the normal breathing and sharp intake. So when he does that, I'll just flick something out, because I know it's going to hit me and I've just disrupted it. Okay? So you can watch the breathing. Super slow, I can see things like that. I can start to see I used to have this little peg twitch before I threw a cross, because my guard's coming in before I threw the cross. Yeah? We notice that when we're doing super slow. Right. Oh, heck. Yeah? Now, at the novice level, this is a punch. Yeah? At experience level, that's all he needed. Just a little peg twitch to start to fire it. That's all he needed to spot it. So by going super slow, it gives you a chance to actually see all these signs that something's coming. And as all these signs that something's coming, we can now react to it appropriately. Does that make sense? Thank you very much. Cheers. Yeah, cheers. All right, old school. Keep working with thank me. Yeah. First kung fu instructor. What's it?
Let's see what's out. Fox out.
Yeah, is that it?
Sure. Is that what Is it Wing Chun?
That's all I can remember. I was like, I'm sparring over there, you guys do your forms. So look, let me just give you a quick summary, okay? Every impact harms, we need to understand that, okay? Now you're informed of it. Now you're informed of it, you can think about what you're doing. Straight away, you have the ability to give informed consent to participate. Because now you know the information as to what you're participating with. Not only that, you can start doing things about it. Let's cut the head contact from training. Let's get rid of it as much as we possibly can. Find new, novel ways, like the super slow. We did all kinds of things, like different speeds between us, one person dead slow, one person reacting super fast, all kinds of things. It also creates time distortion mentally, which means that we can fight with the impression that we're fighting in slow motion things, giving ourselves faster reactions. Find novel ways of training that remove or at least reduce the head impact. Watch out for the head impacts in training. Be aware that if you're doing lots of head impacts and increase in ring sports, head impacts towards the competition, you're setting yourself up to fail. You're reducing your physical and mental ability and making it easier to be knocked out. Why not save the impacts to the sports that we love? Yeah? Recognise there's no mitigation and that we can't just put head guards on and big gloves on kids and hope that it's going to save them, because it actually makes it worse. Yeah? Just recognise there is no mitigation, so then we can work around it. Recognise the signs and symptoms of traumatic brain injury. Recognise that once we've got those, concussion, there's actually a serious brain injury that will continue to unfold over time. If you have a single concussion a year later, we can test your biomarkers and you'll still show elevated biomarkers from that one single concussion. Sakelis et al. Did a Swedish twin study of 13,000 identical twins. The twin that had concussion had worse life outcomes across a whole range of markers, including earlier death. Okay, it's quite telling. Now, we are not in the same boat. We are combat sports. I've come here today, walked through the door, and the first thing was I got attacked by Pete Edwards with a massive hug. I used to go up and train with him and get battered by him and Corey. Tag me, I'll delete you, Kane. If you know him on Facebook. Yeah, don't tag me, don't tag me. Yeah, and Corey and people like that, and Mark Watton, and it's just legendary days. Legendary because they're old, right? Yeah, old days. Walked the door, I've seen Pete in 25, 30 years. Bam, big hug. First thing you want to do when I saw Chris Collymore was go like, Collymore. Chris Collymore, by the way, he only fights backwards. That's the joke we've got. Okay. Well, lovely trips to New Zealand with him. Brilliant. Yeah? We've got lifelong friends in combat sports. Okay. So one of the things is, wherever you go in the world, it doesn't matter who you are, what you've done, what life status you are, what your gender, sexuality, social standing. Look at my 14 million on Instagram. I've only got 12. I'll wear a bra. Oh, I've got 14 now. You know, it's whatever your stand in life. You put a set of gloves on you, you're all exactly the same. As a result, in combat sports, we've got something that I would suggest very few sports actually have. We're family. And overall, sure, there's your bad apple. We've got some really cool coaches. And these really cool coaches give life skills and really great teaching to their students. And those students grow up and they spread it even further. It's a gift that keeps on giving. As a result, I would suggest that we won't have those adverse effects in the same way. Because we are probably better placed than most people out there. We've got higher mental resilience, higher pain thresholds. Our mental strength is far higher. The ability to cope under pressure, geez, it's like, yeah, we are doing things, life skills, that are transferable to the rest of our lives, okay? So, just a reminder, brain damage is not the same as brain injury, which is not the same as concussion. 3 different terms, 3 different meanings, understand them. Recognise that every impact harms, so let's limit it. Save it for when it counts. Now, who here sneezed? Oh, everybody. Yeah, well done. You give yourself brain damage. Yeah? Does that mean that, oh no, we should never sneeze again? No. Yeah? I would suggest that points fighters and light contact, by way of doing proper light contact, not like me and Pele Reed used to do, we used to try and kill each other, it's great. And then we hug and laugh about it afterwards. I'm off to hospital, Pele. You beat me again. Yeah? I'll go full contact, it's easier. But actual proper light contact is no different to sneezing, no different to heading a football. Things that we would do and not consider a problem. Save those big hits for when it's necessary. Create novel, new ways of working that's clever. We've got this saying in combat sports which is wrong. Train hard, fight easy. Let's change that. Let's change it to train clever, fight easier, live healthier. Just some thoughts for you. Open to the floor. Fire the questions away. Let's go. Yeah.
So you said about us as a community having more mental resilience, having tougher strength and better under pressure.
Yep.
With the removal of contact or the reduction of contact in, for example, competition itself, do you feel there's an argument to say that that type of fortitude is reduced?
I would
I know you said we can't negate for it and we can't, just
I
get
would
over it and around it.
disagree because in the literature, when I had a look at this, had a look at the culture of combat sports, and because one of the things is, it's like, no, I'm not concussed, I'm okay. The culture that we've got of where it's hyper masculine by way of what masculinity is, strong, tough, they're the traditional virtues of it. So sport is hyper masculine by nature. Combat sports is the most hyper masculine. Because we're doing the most masculine thing, being idiots and nutting each other, yeah? We still have all that hard work going in. We're still training ourselves. You're still having a competition with Pete Edwards on the double unders up at Marlow. Yeah, keeping it going. We're putting it going. We're going. We've still got the resilience in the strength of in the face of hardship. Yeah, we've still got the emphasis on fine motor control when we're absolutely shattered. We've still got limbs moving towards us that we're still reacting to. It's creating a very similar effect. I would actually I'll just let you know that sport has higher mental resilience, etc., than non-sporting people.
Yeah.
Combat sports, equal highest with ultra endurance.
Based on what though? What gives us that? Like, what
There's
differentiates
various
that?
testing protocols.
Because for me, combat sport, part of that, which again, playing devil's advocate here for the sake of argument, a part of that extended mental fortitude comes from competitive combat. I understand the things there, like the competition and like within the the camaraderie within training, but part of that extended kind of resilience for me comes when you're in a competitive environment, you're fighting in combat with somebody, and it's for me trying to get my head.
You can still do that with the body without the brain damage.
Yeah.
Exactly the same thing.
So, second part of that question. We're going to have a competitive arena with countries from around the world competing, who maybe don't have the guidance. I'm not saying the guidance isn't important, it absolutely is. Can we, if we were to adopt these protocols, which for, like you said, a healthier lifestyle, do you really think that we can keep our competitive edge, which as a country right now, we're at the very top?
No,
by
I think we
reducing
increase it.
You think we increase it? Do you?
Every head impact will slightly lower your cognitive ability, impair your memory, and reduce control on your body. If we start increasing our cognitive ability, increasing our memory, our ability to learn, and increasing control in our body, by learning earlier and more appropriate responses to stimuli, then we're going to be quicker, sharper, more observant, and we might actually increase.
But we're using a really bad term of battle tested. When you've got a kid there who's done a lot of, or an adult who's come into the sport, not had much contact due to really good protocols for life, not for sport, who then comes against someone from another nation who has felt that punch before, and I've got these people now going into combat arena who are experiencing that fully for the first time in competition. I struggle to work out the solution.
This is where, so what you've got then is a mismatch.
Yeah.
So you've got a fighter that's not prepared for the level he's been entered in.
Correct.
There's a thought. So on that side, you need to be careful that you're putting your fighters into the right
I'm talking
level.
like if someone gets to elite level, and we're at World Championships now, but we've had protocols in place for X amount of years. Another country.
But they've competed to reach elite level.
Pardon me?
They've competed to reach elite level. So they've gone through this experience before. So to backtrack on it is to give the correct apprenticeship. So for example, in Thai boxing, they do a lot of gym shows.
Yeah.
So they have these environments, these competitive environments, in a far safer way, where the whole purpose is to learn this and find out what we can do to experience it, but without the sort of the killer edge on it. Yeah, you're still getting hit.
Yeah.
But the referee, slow down, light the punches up a little bit. They can control it. So what they're doing is serve an appropriate apprenticeship before they go in at that elite level. So if we give people that right approach, then they're actually going to be, they're going to hit the highest level, and they're going to not have the brain injury burden. So they're going to be healthier and better able to fight, but they've still had the experience of being hit. Watching my fingers, I was raising.
So if you had your career again, and you knew what you knew now, you would honestly hand on heart do it differently.
100%. I'll still do it. God damn it, because it's made me who I am.
To your own admission, you said that you like the pain of being hit in training.
Yeah, I do.
But you wouldn't do it again?
No, because I know what it's doing to me.
Okay.
And I'm 54 now. How old are you? 21, she's late. But at 21, you still can't appreciate what it's like to be 54. It's like, I'll do that. I'll worry about it later. Well, trust me, as the coaches have been chatting earlier, time really starts to speed up. It's only yesterday I was 21. It's only yesterday I was suffering Corey's sharp sidekick, or Chris McNeish's sharp sidekick at the Peacock Gym. So ouching. I was only 21 yesterday, but I'm actually 54. And what we may not think of today comes round to haunt us pretty quickly later on. So even though, I enjoyed that impact, you've also got to think, why did I actually enjoy it? Perhaps I enjoyed it because that was the culture at the time that taught me it was the right thing to do. The culture technically groomed me to look forward to being an idiot who took 5 punches to give 6. Gary, I might be better to do a bit more points fighting and learn how to evade and actually hit cleanly rather than taking 5 to give 6. Yeah, especially against the big guys that I was fighting. That was just silly. So I would, honestly, knowing what I know now, based on the current state of the evidence, if I had my time again, I believe that 1, I'll be healthier, but 2, I'd be far better.